Here we go, the Shelter FootyCast live from BackChat Studios. Had some feedback last week. It might have been Skeet's first F-bomb on the podcast. We don't know. He doesn't want to make a habit of it, but that's okay. The Southern Riverband boys out of Thornley there with the intro music. We have to keep cutting it short because you know what's up. Skeeter, how are you? Shelter FootyCast?
Yeah, good on you, Schoey, for just dropping me into that. No, I always try and think that if we're doing something publicly, that would you like, my mum's Bernadette, your mum's Jan?
Yes.
Would they really like to be listening to us?
No.
No, exactly. So particularly on that basis, I try and minimise it. I know you're in that era where you just roll with any language that comes out of your mouth, but I'm trying to be a bit more eloquent and maybe just save the swearing for really important moments like the one that you hit me up with last week.
Mark, you weren't happy with the what would you know? You've never played footy. Mark Redding is the eloquent media operator here with us. Of course, Will Schofield with you. Follow us on socials, Shelter FootyCast. You can watch us on YouTube, listen to us as a podcast. You're doing one of those right now, so you know that. Send us an email, footycast@shelterbrewing.com.au. Skeeter, I don't know if you've hit one of these at all, but we've got the Bottle Mart Roughie of the Week this week. I already know mine. I'm just telling you right now. So you can start your footy weekend at Bottle Mart, grab your shelters where Bottle Mart has you covered. I already know what it is. It's no-brainer.
And this is exactly what you said this time last week, and it was West Coast to beat Carlton. They fell 109 points short. They were beaten by 108, so they fell 109 points short of your prediction.
Well, what have you done? You keep picking. You like there'll be like $1.90 versus $1.94, and you take the $1.94 as a roughie. Oh, good on you, champion.
Yeah, well, I'll surprise you this morning.
Okay, can't wait. Eloquent Mark Reddings. Let's get into the big issues of the week. Tassie team is confirmed. We've been banging on about this a little bit. Albanese did the announcement and ducked off to Cole Sandiland's wedding. I saw some footage of that, actually. It looked so awkward. They don't even know each other.
Yeah.
Like, he was holding Sandiland's baby. He was just there to get photos.
Yeah.
How do you rock up at a wedding just to get publicity
photos? Politician.
It's ridiculous.
Albo's been as popular, but he's losing a bit of his cred.
Let's head down to Sandiland's wedding. That'll win it back.
Yeah. Back to Tassie.
Yes.
I think we're talking about names and colours. Green's got to be. I mean, it's got to have that state team look about it.
It can't be called the Islanders. I put this up on Twitter and it went bonkers.
Just go honest. Devils or whatever it is. Get the Warner Brothers thing sorted, and surely they can call themselves the Tassie Devils or the.
I don't know if that's how IP trademark law works. Like, a bit of goodwill. You know what I mean? Like, if Warner Brothers own a trademark, they're going to be, just go for it. Yeah, you guys can have the Tassie Devils. I don't think it's going to be the Devils.
No, you're probably right. But mind you, there's a bit of Travis Kelce. Whatever we say here is going to be Travis Kelce incorporated involved here. But no, it's exciting for them. And there's a lot of question marks. And parochially, from a WA perspective, Fremantle, West Coast, I know it's 28. Is 28 too far away? Just seems a long way off to crank it up.
So went through every Tasmanian listed player in the AFL right now.
Yeah, seen that.
And Chase Jones is probably the best. Could be the best of the bunch. Adelaide player, not an amazing player right now, but 5 years' time he could be a really. good
Alex
player.
Pearce is the only one in
WA.
But he's going to be 33
34.
when he goes to Tassie if he goes there.
Ben Brown will be 35. Like there's guys, but they'd all be too old. I think there's no one that's like, well, he's going to be the captain, in 5 years' time. So it'll be interesting to see what the development in that state is over the next 5 years because, again, 5 years' time, it's a long time. There may be a 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old right now in Tasmania that is that real marquee player that we don't know about.
Problem is, even reading last week, and just in brief, the 15s National Carnival, Tasmania, I'm led to believe, having read this, that they couldn't field a team.
Right.
So they've got a lot of work to do. And I think if you're looking for year one, game one, if you get 5 local Tasmanians in the side, is that being written?
As I said, they don't need a team of Tasmanians.
No.
Like, that's not going to make or break the side.
But you need 4 or 5.
Yeah, they need a couple of guns from Tasmania. Like, not even 5. If you get 3 really good players from Tassie, you hang your hat on that. And you build it with other good players. I know Tasmanians are parochial, as West Australians are, but you don't need a team of Tassie guys. No. Like West Coast. West Coast had a team of West Australians because...
Initially.
Yeah, because, it's a bigger state, but that moved on from that, and, I don't think they'll need that.
But what will, from a local point of view, again, is that the concessions are going to come their way in 27, 28, leading in. That's where footy clubs have to be really... spot on with.
You don't want to be having a terrible year coming. It was the same with Gold Coast and GWS. So a couple of points on that. press conference from Gil McLaughlin. He had some really interesting verbiage, I thought. He said, one thing's for certain that I know for sure, we will have an evened team competition. He did not say we will have 20 teams by 2030. He did not mention the number 20. He just said an even competition. So I think he said that. He's a smart man, Gil, right? He's run one of the bigger businesses for the last decade. I think he's left the door open for a merger there to bring it back to 18.
I think more a merger than an addition, because I don't think realistically, and I've had people say, Joondalup and you've got Busselton and all these ideas and Northern Territory. In our heart of hearts, do we reckon we need a third WA team?
On the Shelter FootyCast, of course we do, Skeeter. Down in Busso, put it right next to the Shelter Brewery down there. Put it on the water, put a roof over it. I mean, if Tassie can do it, why can't Busso do it? There you go, Skeet. Now, the other interesting point is you just made around the concessions they're going to get. Eddie Maguire speaking about it during the week. I thought, he would know. Again, like Gil, Eddie, think what you like of him, incredibly smart businessman and operator, and he ran effectively the biggest media organisation in Australia, Channel 9, and the biggest footy club in Australia, in Collingwood, so he knows what he's talking about.
Yep.
He spoke about you don't want to be going really poorly coming into this year or a couple of years out. So West Coast, for instance, he said, he spoke what they should be doing at board level, get in the room, shut the curtains, lock the door, let's sort this out right now.
Otherwise, you're in the death zone.
Yeah. So, I don't think...
No, just in terms of playing. Success.
So, I agree with Eddie a little bit. I mean, you got to look to the future.
Yeah, so given what's happening with the Eagles this year, given what's happening with the draft down the track, they just have to get things right. It might be this year and next year to set themselves up for that period where they're going to be...
And when you say get things right, you're almost happy to get things wrong over the next 2 years and get Harley Reid into the club and these high-end draft picks. On Harley Reid,
how good is he?
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, he looks amazing, but the last 20 number one draft picks, only one of them over the last 20 years, you would have taken number one again after the fact, which is an interesting stat. I think it was Adam Cooney would have been the guy, wins a Brownlow, kind of stands himself alone in that 2003 draft. There's no one else. There's not one other player that you would have taken at one again. So
Jason Horne-Francis not going to at least be considered?
The last 3 years is a bit of a question mark.
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't know right now.
Like,
so that was the stat I saw. The last 20, 3 had question marks. These last 3 just gone. But everything after that, you would have taken a different player. So I think it's a relevant stat that, in my draft, for instance, I think Bryce Gibbs was number 1. Joel Selwood went at 7. So he would be the best, most credentialed player to come out of that. Tom Hawkins was father-son. There was guys in our went deep. Robbie Gray was in the 50s, 60s. You got guns that, Bryce Gibbs was a good player, but he wasn't the best of that draft year. So number 1 isn't always the be-all and end-all. Ruben Jinby, shout out. He was a number 1, but I think he has the potential to be the best in that draft. Last one I just wanted to speak about as an overall thing before we get into the rest of the round, Skeeter. Don't look at me like that.
You got a smile on your face because I just sense there's like a little.
Well, it is. You're absolutely right. Yeah, AFL 23 out today. PlayStation game. You're gonna head down and buy that and give that a try.
Sorry, what is it?
PlayStation.
PlayStation. Seriously, are we 12?
Oh my god! When was the last time you played a console game?
Space Invaders. Mate, really, you're 34 years of age. Grow up, Schoey.
Oh, mate, I'm not going to buy it. I just wanted to know if you were heading down to the shop store.
Couldn't care any less for anything else about playing PlayStation and fantasy footy. Again, I couldn't give a toss about fantasy footy.
All right, so just mark this down, please, Jaden. We're going to do a PlayStation off with
you are.
Mark Reddings playing AFL 20.
Let's jump in a plane. Let's jump off a jetty. Let's make a pizza. Everything that I'm shite at.
Let's make a pizza. Oh, man. If you missed that, you can follow over at our YouTube. You see Mark Reddings getting absolutely butchering a pizza down at Shelter Brewing and the kitchen there. Lovely staff, though. We did appreciate that. Will Schofield, Mark Reddings, Shelter FootyCast. Let's get into the West Australian side of things, Skeeter. The last time I remember Richmond playing West Coast at the MCG, Jack Riewoldt kicked 10 goals on me, and I've wiped that place from my memory. That's what's happening Saturday, 11:45.
It's hard to talk this game up, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit of a stinker, really. I mean, Richmond's won one game, so is West Coast. They've got a draw under their belt, Richmond. But I don't know. Look, MCG, West Coast last game, it doesn't bode well for them. But I don't know. Maybe it's a bounce back game from after it. I think probably games sort of building up in consistency and contested effort, and then they dropped right off in Carlton. Maybe you see another uptick from a young side. Yeah,
possibly. I mean, Dom Sheed, we think will come back in with that throat injury, and outside of that, they're still pretty skinny, aren't they?
Bazo's out, SPS, so Samo
Sam Patrick-Seaton, obviously he's got the suspension. I'm led to believe he might even had a little procedure on his corky, just
to drain the blood.
I think so. I mean,
that means I've had that before,
and
it's not good if it's at that stage.
Yeah,
like that's not a normal procedure.
Yeah, so is that a 2, 3, 4 weeker?
It can be, yeah. Like I missed 6 weeks with a corky, which is embarrassing. But the blood got sucked between the layers of muscle. Travis Kelce probably having a shout out here, but and I couldn't get it out. And it was like when they speak about those car injuries, car accident injuries. Jeremy McGovern had one of those in his ribs and his stomach. Similar thing. The blood and it dies, but it stays in between the layers of your muscle. So that happened to my leg, and I couldn't move my leg. Yeah. So if he's getting it drained,
it sounds
similar.
I've been told he's having a procedure now, whether it's to that extent, but either way, he's going to miss this week. But he's got TBC on the injury list, so he's out of action.
It's
Eagles
well used at West Coast.
Tell you what, you just have to hope that they show some more spine than what they did against Carlton, because I mean Richmond are just going. Damien Harwick's got a team that's been hit by injury as well as West Coast. It's a tough game to get excited about, though.
Yeah, I've asked our man Charlie to put some pearlers in the run sheet. You're probably diving for your email with all the stats, Skeeter. Well, I'll read you a couple of the best ones. Richmond have the worst shot at goal accuracy of any team this season, 41% in front of the big sticks. And West Coast, they've conceded 7.9 points per game from centre bounce clearances, ranked second defensively in the AFL. So they've got a good defensive setup from their centre bounces.
No, very good. I'll give you one more.
Here we go. What do you got for us?
Tigers kicking efficiency 63% this season, the lowest percentage in the AFL.
Really?
And I know we talked about this, and you actually cleared it up for me. Kicking efficiency can be
if you think about misleading. The way Richmond play,
that sums them up a bit.
Right? Yeah. They're haphazard, knock on, play on. They're kicking off the ground, and they turn it into a bit of a shit fight, right? That's what the efficiency thing. Look, I could be wrong, but when they were winning premierships, I reckon they would have been lower on kicking efficiency as well. But they don't really care about it.
They're just, and you probably know this, but I was told by Trent Cooper actually last week. I was discussing this kicking efficiency and how Carl brought that up as being pretty important. Yep. You sort of had a different angle. Coop said kicking efficiency. If you kick 40 metres to a contest, that is a kicking efficiency tick.
Right.
I didn't know. Did you know if he covers 40 metres and it goes to a contest?
Right. That's an efficient kick.
Apparently, yeah. So anyway, I think metres gained or whatever it is, I think it can be misleading, the kicking efficiency element. But anyway, Tigers have been shite. So too have West Coast in a lot of areas.
That must be absolutely hell to code as a stats guy trying to figure out the difference between 38 and 42 metres.
No, totally. Yeah, but I was really intrigued and interested about the kicking efficiency and what you say in a footy club. Don't care, or don't care.
It's not a relevant.
It's not a huge stat that you look at. Yeah. No. Either way, the stat that will matter. You said that I should never tip the Eagles. No, Richmond. I had to tip the Richmond. I tipped Richmond last week. You said why you tipped them. I said well, I've got to tip them next week. They're playing the Eagles. So I've got to tip Richmond. Yeah.
Why?
Because they're playing the MCG. And I saw West Coast firsthand.
Okay.
Who are you tipping?
Richmond. Fremantle play Hawthorn 5:30 p.m. Saturday, Optus Stadium. It's a bloody Bottle Mart roughie of the week. Start your footy weekend at Bottle Mart. Grab your shelters where Bottle Mart has you covered. I said it last week. I'm not picking Fremantle. Piss off. I pick Hawthorn, and I do believe this. I'm not just doing this for a roughie. Hawthorn can beat Fremantle. They're strong around the footy. Fremantle have been horrid around the footy. I don't care if they get Nat Fyfe back this week. They're not playing him in the middle. We spent a whole pre-season here about Nat Fyfe, the forward. So think what you like for our fans. He ain't playing in the middle. He may not even play AFL level. He could play waffle. What reason do I have to pick Fremantle? Why would I pick them? Because they're at home.
Yeah.
They played like shite at home, mate. They got beaten by North Melbourne at home. So why can't Hawthorn beat them? Tell me.
No, you mate. This is a game that they can easily drop.
If they lose to Hawthorn, like Optus could be burnt to the crisp. Seriously, like, see you later. No, seriously, like if you lose to Hawthorn at home, you got big issues.
Got a couple of issues as well. Sean Darcy did not complete training yesterday.
That.
Looked a bit sore, and the issue we believe Brendan Cox also didn't complete it. So, yeah, they're not in great shape. Their footy brand has been picked to pieces. Saw Justin Longmuir on the news the other night. He looks not beaten. He just looks as if he's
bloody exhausted, mate. You'd be banging your head against the wall.
Yeah, trying to find answers. And where's the spark going to come from? I mean, good to hear that Andrew Brayshaw, the reason that the reason he hasn't been at his best. He's still averaging 26 disposals.
What is it? I saw injury. What is it? What's he been carrying?
A knee of some sort. So,
right.
But he did the numbers. I mean, Caleb Sarong, I think, possession-wise, averaging 29 or thereabouts, hasn't kicked a goal this year. I did the numbers the other day. Andrew Brayshaw, averaging 26, kicked 4 goals. So, look, hasn't been stellar.
The damaging nature, you can...
Yeah, you know. But he did reveal the knee injury sort of restricted him, but he felt a lot better against Brisbane. So that's the upside. I guess the question mark is against some of the mid-range players that Fremantle have got, or younger players.
Yeah. They're lacking depth. Johnson will be suspended this week, so Erasmus are likely come back in for him. I think they lack depth. I keep talking about that. They've fallen away. They've got Sarong and Brayshaw. Brayshaw's been a little bit below what we expect from him, but he's still having a good year. And then there's, Brodie was dropped. They've got Matty Johnson coming in and out, Erasmus coming in and out.
O'Meara's been disappointing.
Yeah.
When I say disappointing, maybe we're asking too much, and because it was considered the direct replacement for David Mundy.
Because he's the third midfielder, right?
Yeah.
So you can't have your third midfielder coming in and having 40,
No.
Like Sarong and Brayshaw are there to do that. So he needs to play a role. He'd be spending time in half forward.
It did he's kicked a couple of goals moving forward, but maybe I was just fantasising about him, when he's at his best at Hawthorn, he'd be able to replicate that. It just hasn't been...
You got to remember that they didn't want to trade Lloyd Meek, and it was very late thing.
True, fair call.
And so...
They fell on his lap.
They probably looked at it and thought, look, we're not chasing Jago O'Meara, but good player.
But is he stopping the development of an Erasmus and a Johnson by holding them out of a place in the team? I don't know.
Maybe, but I don't know.
There's a lot of issues at Fremantle.
I see Hawthorn winning this game. I know I've said it a roughie, but for me, it's not that much of a roughie. Fremantle's in terrible shape. They've been playing poorly, and if they don't win this game, that's season over. See you later if it's not already. Who are you picking?
I'm tipping Fremantle because you make a good case for Hawthorn. I just think Hawthorn can still fluctuate pretty significantly. They were good against the Bulldogs for the majority, but they can still be a little fickle as well.
Fremantle will need to stop Mitch Lewis. He had a big game in his first game back.
Yeah, a lot of shots at goals.
And Freo have been having trouble stopping key forward, and I really rate him highly. That if they can stop him, I think it goes a long way to winning the game. But if he has a day on the Fremantle key backs, I'll see you later.
Well, it's a huge issue for them, and I don't need a stat from the email to tell me this. So they're conceding a lot more points than last year. 100 points again last week against the Lions. I think it was around 60 on average, 60 to 70 max last year. They're getting triple figures.
Well, you're in luck. Hawthorn have conceded 67 points per game from turnover, ranked 17th in the AFL. So there you go, Skater.
Fremantle.
You've picked Fremantle. That's okay. Will Schofield, Mark Reddings, Shelter FootyCast. Excuse me. Carlton v Brisbane, Friday night. Big game.
Big game. Match of the round, isn't it?
Yeah, it's at Marvel, not at the Gabba.
Yeah, I didn't think it was there.
No. I'm just saying for anyone playing along at home, just telling you where the game is.
Yeah, absolutely. And the numbers are pretty good for Brisbane, actually, in all honesty, because I think they've won 6 of their past 7.
For who? Carlton or Brisbane?
No, but Carlton has lost 6 of its last 7 against Brisbane, including the last 3 by 23 points as an average. So they've got their measure on that front. I just tell me if I'm wrong. Brisbane, they've beaten, obviously, the Dockers. They got hold of the Giants in a relatively tight game. North Melbourne, they punched up. They've beaten, say, soft kills, but they've won 4 in a row, I think. How hard is it to win 5, 6, 7 in a row in the AFL?
Well, hugely hard, and it's a little bit to do with it's just difficult to keep that streak going. But it's a little bit to do with coming up against a side that's won 4 on the trot. They're in good form. Your side lifts a little bit, and adverse to coming up against a North Melbourne or Hawthorn that lose 4 on the trot. You kind of we should just be able to get this done kind of thing. So. Look, if this is at the Gabba, it's a no-brainer for me.
Exactly.
I think, Carlton don't stand a chance. So it evens it up away because we've seen what Brisbane's done away from home. They haven't been good.
Particularly Marvel, just this year and in Victoria. Look, they played okay in South Australia and they have shown enough, but against lesser sides, I just think Carlton. I think Carlton can win this game off the back of what I saw last week.
Who's the best Charlie in this game, Kerno or Cameron? That's going to be great to watch.
He is. I mean, Kerno only because of what I saw with my own eyes last week.
You're a big Charlie cat.
I love him.
No, he's not your favourite. No,
I love Shea Bolton.
Yes.
When he's up and running.
Yes.
But Charlie Cameron, I mean, he's just he's restricted last week. I think 2 goals he kicked. And we saw Charlie Kerno. Look, if he can get rolling again, I think Akers was terrific. Cripps, their midfield can really, I think that's where they can at least neutralise.
My tip will be Harry Mackay has a very big day today on
Friday
this
night.
game. Yeah. As a backline group, you see someone kick 9 goals 3 the week before, and you're not leaving him alone, are you? Right? So I think Harry Mackay gets off the chain a little bit. They'll put some attention to Charlie Kerno. I think people think that Harry Mackay's an easier player to stop. A little bit less athletic than Charlie Kerno. He sort of moves a little bit more straight up and down, whereas Charlie's a little bit more left and right. But Harry Mackay's a gun. I remember playing on him, mate. As an 18-year-old, he towed me up.
But do you actually, when each has the footy shooting for goal, as a defender, you're thinking, well, at least with Harry, this could go anywhere.
Better stand the mark here because yeah, you do. But he's also won a Coleman medal. So
no, he's a talent. He's frustrating.
He's just lost a bit of confidence in front of goal. And the problem with good forwards like that, out of confidence, they're one game away from kicking a big bag because they're guns. He knows how to kick goals. He's just stuffing around in his own head. If he gets that right and gets his 5-6 shots on goal, he could easily kick 5-6 goals in a row.
But again, it's one of those ones. I don't know if I'm sure they've got a goal kicking coach down there or someone who, because his and Charlie's goal kicking efficiency this year could be the difference between a top 4 finish, a top 8 finish.
But it's mental, mate. Like you saw how beautiful Charlie was kicking the goals on the weekend, like against West Coast. So it's not like they don't know how to kick goals. It's just all mental. Like it's complete mental strength and mental ability, and can you right yourself? Can you get yourself in the right headspace? It's the same for everyone across the league. So, look, as much as I say Harry Mackay's in a bit of a rut, he's a gun. So he'll have a big day for mine. Zorko and Rich are both out.
Yes, big injuries, hamstring, and I think Rich has missed another game. So
Zorko's sort of starting to get those soft tissues, which is worrying for them. Who have you got in this one?
I've tipped Carlton. And again, at the Gabba, it's a lay down misère.
Yeah.
But here, I think the Blue Baggers might be able to just do enough. Put it this way, there's more question marks being put at Carlton to see how they go against a quality side after last week's soft kill than there is against Brisbane.
Okay, very good. I'm also picking Carlton. Sorry, I'm picking Brisbane. I'm picking Brisbane.
Okay.
I'm picking Brisbane. It's not a roughie, though. I don't think that's that.
No, I think they're
Who's favourite?
Carlton's slight favourites, 185 to 195.
Very good. Geelong v Adelaide at home to Geelong. Midday game over here on Saturday. Going to be a good game. Geelong, I feel, still aren't back. I know they've beaten sides. I know they've smashed sides, but at home, look, they're such a hard team to move. So Adelaide have some tools to beat them. I don't think they will, though.
They should have won against Collingwood. Clearly, their goal kicking, or lack of it, we've just spoken about it, but they butchered their chances in the first half.
So, they're up and about, aren't they?
They're playing some good footy. They're the big movers this year, aren't they? Let's be honest. They're the team that I think deserves.
There's always credit. One, and no one really gets them. There's always one every year that they come, not come from the clouds, but no one really expects that. And there's probably been more this year. Adelaide, Essendon, and St Kilda are probably the 3.
Yeah.
But Adelaide,
I think Adelaide can sustain what they're doing. I'm not sure about St Kilda so much, or Essendon. I'm just waiting to see.
Yeah, I'd have them in that order as well. Adelaide, St Kilda, Essendon.
Yeah, so Adelaide's been terrific, but a bit like the Gabba. When's the last time you've tipped against Geelong?
You wouldn't
at
do
the
it.
Cattery. You just can't do it.
Off the back of a 100-point win against
Their form is
Sydney.
scary as well. And they knocked over Essendon, got the job done early. They shopped early, got themselves in a winning position. So, they're playing such good footy that almost unrecognisable from that loss to, say, the Gold Coast Suns.
Couple of stats for you. Geelong have won their last 12 matches against Adelaide at KP, Cardinia Park. The last time Adelaide won there was, what year?
Was it in a premiership year for them?
Like 90s, like 97, 98.
I'm trying to think. One of those 12, so it must have been
it was 2003.
Yeah, okay.
So that's a fair way between drinks, 20 years.
That's 20 years.
Since round 4, the Crows have won the contested possession count by 13 per game, ranked first in the AFL. So they're going to have to take it up to Geelong around the footy. Dangerfield's in very good form. Adelaide have to get it done. Guys like Laird, who's sort of turned himself into more of an inside midfielder. Dawson sort of play, he flips between predominantly half-back and some midfield, and then some games you go predominantly midfield and some half-back. He'll be predominantly midfield in this game. I think they've got the skills to take it up to Geelong, but the stats just, I think it's hard to pick against Geelong.
And talk about the mental hold that teams have. Walking onto Cardinia Park, as we'll call it, Geelong are a 5-goal better side. The Crows are a 5-goal better side when they're at the Adelaide Oval. Likewise, Brisbane. So on that basis, I think they can be competitive. A bit of rain around. I think forecast for Geelong Saturday. Cats, you just can't tip against them. But Adelaide, I'm really intrigued to see how they go against a team that's starting to flex its muscles.
Josh Rochelle, he's becoming one of my favourite players to watch in the AFL. He spends time on ball. He's a gun. He goes forward. He kicks goals. I think he's kicked goals almost every game
But they've got those players. I mean, you're right. Rochelle, I've been impressed with Soligo. Jones, we mentioned, young Tasmanian kid.
Pedler. I don't know if you've watched him at all. Pedler's a gun, mate. We saw him here, and just the eye test, I was like, he's a good player, and he's had a really good year.
Yeah, they've got a lot. And Rory O'Brien in the ruck. They've got a lot of pieces. Rory O'Brien used to play for Peel. Riley O'Brien. And down back, I mean, Butts, Hinge, Murray, Duday. I mean, they're just low key. Well done, Crows, picking Geelong.
Gold Coast play Melbourne. Again, I'm assuming this is on the Gold Coast Heritage Bank Stadium. Good on your Heritage Bank. Shout out to all the users of that bank around the country. Gold Coast. Have you ever heard of Heritage Bank, mate? What's Heritage Bank servicing? Where are they lined to? Seriously. They're sponsoring the Gold Coast Stadium. I mean, seriously. Anyway, Gold Coast play Melbourne, 2:30 Saturday. You're going to have to keep things moving, Skater, because there's headlands coming in here.
And you're knocking on the door very shortly.
Absolutely. Who wins this? I mean, this isn't your roughie of the week, surely.
It isn't my roughie of the week, but I think... Look, I hope the Gold Coast take it up to Melbourne. I mean, Melbourne, you've put the seed of doubt in my mind about them over the past couple of months.
Don't listen to me.
About their pressure acts and, they're up the chimney. I'm thinking, okay, keep looking up the chimney.
They were. They were pooping themselves against West Coast at stages.
Early start, but they still won by 10 goals. They win this, Melbourne.
Jared Wich's 150th game, the captain.
Really good. And he's so important to them. Without him, I mean, they're just a lesser side.
Yep.
So, Tuke Miller, can they do it again, play again without him and get success? Richmond, I don't think, is the great barometer. Melbourne, up there. Won't be comprehensive, I don't think. I think Gold Coast will challenge them, but Melbourne to get the victory.
Fiorini is an interesting one to watch for Gold Coast. He stepped into the void left by Tuke Miller. Spoke about this last week. He's someone that... Look, you can look at him like from a West Coast point of view, like a Connor West or a Jai Cully, where he's got to play a lot of half forward without having that number one mid spot, taken by Tuke Miller. He comes into the side last week and he has a stack of it, and he's a proper midfielder. So keep your eye on him if you're playing Supercoach or Dream Team, and if you like your footy.
And big boy King up forward, kicking 4 last weekend.
They're not without a look. I'm just going to say they're not without a chance.
No, I agree with you. I think the
MCG they're without a chance.
Yeah,
up and home.
The line's 16, which means that the smart people think they can go pretty well against Melbourne. But that's the other interest. King plays well. Hopefully, he's the player that they re-sign and try and lock away to say to the rest of the group, come with me for this ride.
I agree, mate. We're both picking Melbourne. Yep. GWS, Western Bulldogs. Don't you put your fingers up like that.
It's my bottom art.
The bottom art roughie of the week. Skeeter's bottom art roughie of the week. Make sure you pop in a bottom art. They'll sort your shelters out for the weekend. Who's the roughie?
Well, the Giants are the roughies.
Right, okay.
They're the mob's favourite. And
by how much?
They're $1.50. Now the mob's $2.50.
Oh, I don't know.
What's wrong with that? It is a roughie.
Well, it has to. Yeah, okay.
How rough do you want it?
Well, like
North Melbourne. Who are they playing?
You're kind of in the first cut of the fairway at the moment. I'd like you right in the big stuff in the knee high grass. To be really honest.
Who's your roughie, by the way?
Hawthorn to beat Freo.
Yeah, that's a roughie.
Is it like a $4 maybe?
No, but I think it's a good roughie. Mine's just a more conservative roughie. That one, that's a bloke.
Correct. Eloquent. Conservative. Mark Readings, everybody. GWS at home. So we like that. Western Bulldogs. At home, Manuka. It's their home away from home then. Is that right?
Yeah, basically. It's their second home.
Bulldogs, I've really liked them over the past month or so. They look like they've got their mojo a little bit. The way the game style took them a few weeks to get into it. The game against Freo a few weeks back was a real uptick for them. Being able to beat the Dockers here at home, playing that dominant midfield style that we know them for. And when they start to dominate in the midfield, their forward line fires. Like, I still think their forward line's one of the most dangerous in the league if given supply. But if you don't get the battle done in the midfield, then you can have the best forward line in the world, and it doesn't matter. So, and also protects probably their weakness, which is their back line, Western Bulldogs. They've put Jason Johannesson behind the ball properly, and he's starting to really show some great form. I know people talk about his Norm Smith year in 2016, which is a long time ago, but he starts to look like that player when he has the confidence. Like, he's a gun, clearly. To be best on ground and grand final, you've got to be a very good player. I've liked what I've seen from him.
I'm trying to think. I remember I read this. No, I read this somewhere about Jason Johannesson's partner in the room speaking to BT about playing great footy. I think she might have mentioned that that he's playing in a position he should be, like, that's where he won a Norm Smith, like in defence.
I thought they might have been talking about the preparation before games.
No. It's more about essentially she's saying, he's at least been played where he should be played.
Classic.
I love that. It's a bit like Candace Warner coming out.
Yeah, good on him.
Why would you drop my husband?
Yeah, well, good on him. I love that. Who have you got in this one? So you got the GWS.
I got the Giants. Oh, look, Cornelio's back. He's playing great footy. Toby Green, hero from last week.
Callan Ward returns from suspension.
The pressure valve at 182, the highest in the league. Now, do you know what the
pressure valve?
Pressure rating. It's called the pressure rating, Schoey.
Tell me about this.
Yeah, I don't know much more except for the fact it's a pressure rating of 182. That means they are putting a lot of heat on.
Yes, and you're going to have to do that against the Western Bulldogs side.
Going for the Giants as my upset in Canberra.
Liberatore's back, my favourite player in the league. Western Bulldogs win this, and maybe a debutant West Australian boy, Jed Buslinger, the best name in the business.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of commentating some of his footy in Colts, and he's a tall. I think he plays.
I've seen him play too.
Oh, you have.
Does the Tom Barrass type? I think it reminds me a bit of him.
Defender,
can defend 1-on-1, but good interceptor, good strong mark, goes for his marks. I'd like to see him play. They are quite tall, the Bulldogs, though, so
you're right.
They'd have to have some.
And the question mark, look, in all honesty, with the Giants is Sam Taylor, who missed last week.
Yes.
I don't know if he's going to be available this week, but given the height that the Bulldogs possess, he's put it this way, and it's interesting. Just very briefly, the three Champion Data put out 3 names for defenders, key defenders,
1-on-ones.
1-on-ones, I think it might have been. They had Tommy Barrass at number 2, which I thought, and this year I think probably a little fortunate. Darcy Moore at 3, Sam Taylor at 1.
I mean, Champion Data is just stats, so you can't be fortunate. It's just facts, isn't it?
No, but rankings. So in that sense, I suppose rankings. But in terms of defender-wise, Sam Taylor. My point is Sam Taylor really important.
I saw that he'd lost the least, which means he halves or wins pretty much every contest he's ever in.
So I thought Callum Wilkie would have been in that top 3 or 4 anyway.
But they play well as a team defence as well, St Kilda. So that's good to see. So we've gone different on that.
Yep.
Port Adelaide v Essendon, Sunday, Adelaide Oval.
Are you convinced about the Power yet? Because you haven't been all night.
No, I'm not. But I'm going to pick them at home. Are you convinced? You certainly are.
I was like, I think they're showing. I think they're playing for Ken. That's an important factor.
Really? Okay.
No, no. I think they really look pretty united to me. As I said, what we've seen, that win against the Saints we recapped last week, they won it beating St Kilda at what they're good at, and that was a real combative style. I thought it was a really big win over.
So Port wins this?
I'm picking Port over there.
Jonas comes back. Todd Marshall comes back. There are a couple of big inclusions for them. Marshall with Dixon in that forward line, it makes it really potent. If you leave one out, it means sort of you guarantee the best defender to go to whoever's left from them. So
there's some small forwards, junior starting to get a bit of the footy.
Mate, look, I've spoken about him as a teammate. He has the potential to be one of the best small forwards in the game at his peak with fitness. So it looks like he's starting to get fit. That usually is a pretty strong correlation between form and players, is the fitness element. And just having the time to do what he did last week. I know that's natural talent to balk and to have the composure. But if you're tired and you're struggling to get your breath, and then when you get your footy, you can be fatigued. It's difficult to do that. He looks fit to me, and I said this at the start of the year. It's a great pickup by Port Adelaide. Jason Horne-Francis as well, who's always talked about had a great game. I picked Port Adelaide too.
Yep, Dan Houston off another big performance. He sort of goes under the radar a little bit.
He's a gun.
He's a super player. Port for me, and they're going to start to be spoken about with more confidence. Top 4.
They win this one. I mean, it's a decently important game against Essendon, who have been challenging for that top 8 stuff. They win this again. I'll say I'm I'll come
Reconsider.
around. I'll come around and say maybe they are back. So if they lose, I'm off them, just like Fremantle. Collingwood v Sydney. I think the one up the top was one of the better games, but this is I can't remember which game we said was the game of the round.
Oh, it's Carlton Brisbane, at least.
Collingwood, Sydney's not
bad.
I know Sydney's out of form, but this is still two big sides from Sydney and Melbourne. I think this is a big game at the MCG.
Yeah, I've got to say, Sydney's last two performances at the MCG have been putrid.
Are they getting anyone back? I don't think they are. Is one of them the grand final?
Yeah, well, grand final.
Right.
And against Melbourne this year.
That's right.
I'm not saying it's you burn them forever given what they've done recently, but the confidence levels them playing at the MCG at the moment are not high against a Collingwood side that, look, for 3 quarters last week, at various stages they went, but they were dominated, but found a way. So on that
as they do,
and I'm not sure how they do it in the last quarter. Obviously, Adelaide left the door open.
16 of Collingwood's last 22 games have been decided by 15 points or less.
They're the specialists for 1 to 39, aren't they?
The most in a 22 game stretch ever in the AFL. Never has a 22 game stretch been decided by that amount of points in the history of the AFL.
You could see that in the last quarter last week. They believed Adelaide, the little man at the back of their head, saying, "Well, can we?"
And of those 16, they won 14 of them. So it's not like they're losing them either. They've lost 2 of them. So it's just ridiculous. And they know it now. They're just so much ultimate confidence. Wherever they are, they can still win the game.
Last game I remember them getting beaten in a trailing at 3/4 time was the prelim final last year against Sydney, and that was only by a couple of points.
I will say I got a lot wrong pre-season. Fremantle to be top 4, top 2, I think. West Coast to make the 8. GWS to be wooden spooners. Sydney to drop down and maybe miss finals. I said no. Sydney to miss finals. I did say that.
Yep.
And they keep playing like they're playing right now. I know it's injury related. I know it's personnel. Still is what it is. They're really challenging to make finals at the moment.
Yeah, they're struggling. Let's be honest. I mean, they led by 4 goals against the Giants. They couldn't finish them off. They've got injury. You're right. Who was it? Callum Mills.
Yes. Playing on Tom Hawkins.
Tom Hawkins the week before.
I couldn't even play on Tom Hawkins, and I'm about double.
And even some of the decision making of Horse against the Giants, he was questioned about where he was playing. He's out of options, and to a lesser extent, that's looking at what Adam Simpson or Damien Hardwick's going through at the moment. So, yeah, MCG, Collingwood for me, that speaking of pre-season, people saying, they can't get lucky 2 years in a row. Well, I thought with Hill coming in, McStay, who's injured at the moment, and I just thought that they had the ability to continue playing well, and they've grown. So, yeah, Collingwood quite confidently to win the game, but not confidently by a big margin because they just don't do that to teams.
5-minute clock on this episode, Skeeter. North Melbourne v St Kilda. St Kilda win, top
Marvel?
4 v St Kilda win this. It's top 4 v bottom 4. Melbourne are stinking it up right now. Saints are good.
Yeah, and I don't think St Kilda are going to let North kick 10 goals, which means that or 8 goals even, that they'll strangle them and Ross will get them back. They were pretty good last week. Let's be honest. They were beaten by a kick and a half. Bit off, I thought, but no, I think North Melbourne, Clarko's magic wand's suddenly lacking any dust.
St Kilda are starting to get numbers back. As king for St Kilda, who is Max.
Couple of weeks away still.
Ben plays for Gold Coast. Max plays for St Kilda.
A few weeks away.
Yeah, so when they get him back, they've got Jones, brother
Zach
of Nathan.
Jones?
Yes, Zach Jones.
Remember, he's just coming back into the lineup. We've no Steele's getting some...
Billings is available this week.
Yeah, they'll start getting some quality back. Interesting, isn't it? Because you wonder how that affects Ross's style and how they go about their footy because it's been so effective, really, up until round 7.
That's us done and dusted. We're both picking St Kilda.
Absolutely.
Very good. Mark Reddings, Will Schofield. I've got a couple of emails for you, Skeeter. They came in across the week. I'm just having a little look at them right now. This is a decently long one, and I won't be able to get through it. I can't get through this length of that email for you, mate. What about this one?
Okay.
Oh, it's a long one. I'm going to have to bring that in next week. This one is from Joe. Hello, gents. With Tasmania tentatively entering the comp in 2026, so that would
28 actually is going to be.
Well, but tentatively would be...
Oh, you mean in terms of affecting the drafts, etc.?
Correct. Have either of you given any thought, I don't need to read the rest of this, probably not is the answer, to how this could affect West Coast and other clubs' ability to rebuild through the draft? The laundering of talent by Gold Coast and GWS through the early 2010s set some of the struggling clubs years back. Are either of you worried if West Coast don't sell the farm soon, all the quality talent will be unavailable at the time they get deep into turning the older players over and drafting new cattle? We did touch on this a little bit at the
start of the show. So
but does it mean they have to sell the farm right now, as Joe's suggesting.
Well, not sell the farm. I think it'll be really prudent, and not saying it's a good time to be down the bottom, but now is the time for the Eagles. You said even sacrifice a couple of seasons of being competitive to some degree to get the Harley Reeds or get those local products that are coming through. So, yeah, I think it's a really important time because if they do get it wrong, you're looking at a sustained period without getting access to the top talent. And I know 2028 and 2026 seems a long way off, but it gets here quickly. And for both clubs, WA and even Richmond, clubs that have been up for a while that are now starting to feel the heat or feel the pinch. Absolutely, this is the red flags are up about what they have to do in the next 2 years.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I sell the farm's not the one for me. I know everyone's disappointed with how they're playing, but getting rid of McGovern, Schoey, Hearn, Nananui, I mean, what does that do?
I think natural attrition will see a couple of those go at the end of the year. That's my gut feeling.
Yeah.
You don't think so?
Well, maybe, but I don't think just selling the farm and culling the senior players at West Coast is going to do anything to anyone.
Won't solve the issue with regards to getting young talent in, will it?
No, correct. That's us, Skeeter. It's 9 o'clock.
What does your watch say? Because I'm just looking at your watch. Is that...
I have a wind watch, and it only works when I wear it. Right? It's a tag. I just want to throw that out there.
Oh, you tosser.
But I need to wind it every morning. And do I do that? No. So am I wearing a watch that never tells the time? Yes.
I've got an Apple Watch.
I know. And what do you think? What
do you know? You reckon I know how to use it?
Correct. I see you look at it weekly, and it's like you're trying to figure out what's actually going on your wrist.
I feel I'm at Kennedy Space Center or in Houston. The Cape Canaveral.
What you're launching rockets off that, are you?
Well, I'm not a rocket scientist, but I feel like I'm just mastering technology.
I'm neither one of those either. Well done, Skeeter. Have a good weekend, mate. I know you'll be calling lots of footy. Follow us on social, Shelter FootyCast, FootyCast at shelterbrewing.com.au. Watch us on YouTube. Listen to us a podcast, Shelter FootyCast. Might be a few beers for Schoey this weekend, I reckon. See you later.